Question for the attorney.
I'm going to call to order this for the meeting here on Monday, May 5th at 6 o'clock. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Agenda.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just have a question. Do I need to pull?
The consent agenda.
Jackie, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Rabe?
Here.
Shelby?
Here.
Armstrong?
Here.
Beach? Stones?
Present.
Lane?
Here.
Mayor Richardson?
All right. Moving on, we do not have an oath of office to do tonight, so we will go into public comment. If there's anybody here that wishes to speak, if you would come up to the lectern and state your name and address. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody, so we will go to the consent agenda. Anybody need to pull any items from the consent agenda?
Pull M, please.
Pull item M.
I would like to pull, sorry,
You're okay.
item K.
And item K. Are there any other ones? I would take a motion to approve,
Sorry.
you're okay?
Item F.
And, okay. Well, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items F, K, and M.
So moved. Second.
Doug, any high-level stuff you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so the things that are still on that consent agenda, we have setting some public hearings for vacation of a storm sewer, resolution, set a public hearing for vacation of a storm sewer for Emerald Bay Plat 1 for next council meeting, May 19th, set dates for 3 tobacco violation hearings for June 16th. We have some approval of applications for 3 liquor license renewals. There is a special event permit for the Back Alley Bite on May 11th. There is a consideration issuance of a special event and noise permit for the Indianola Chamber of Commerce Dad's Rock Festival for June 14th. Also suspending enforcement of Code 4502 for consumption of alcohol on the downtown streets. Having an engineering service agreement with Snyder and Associates for traffic signal timing updates on Highway 92 and 6569. A payment application and a change order for the North End Street storm sewer repairs project. There's a plat of survey request for parcel B of parcel A of part 11 of an industrial park, and then urban revitalization designation.
Any discussions?
I have a question on H. So we're only doing timing on the one intersection, correct?
May come up. Specifics there.
Mayor and Council, this is Akhilesh Paul, Public Works Director. It's for all the traffic signals that's on Highway 92 and Highway 65.
Okay. It called out the one intersection, so I wanted to clarify that.
I apologize if it did. The intention was to do synchronization traffic so that all the
Starting
signals are
at the one.
synchronized.
Great.
Yep.
That'll be great. Thank you.
Yes, lady. No other discussion? I would take a motion. Have that?
Yep.
So we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Shelby?
Aye.
Okay, item F, the Sticks and Balls night event. I'll take a motion. Need a first motion too.
So moved. Second.
And discussion, Melissa?
I pulled it just because I want to talk through it. We're bringing Bike Night back and closer to City Hall. And the perimeter that we're closing is smaller than what we had before. So I do just have a little bit of concern about where everything is gonna take place and how that might impact the fire department. Should the traffic flow further towards City Hall than we're expecting, and how we're going to manage that. And then overall, just the event, like when we had bike night before, they were pretty large. And so, you know, it was 4 blocks plus before, and now we're condensing it into less than, really, we're condensing it into a parking lot and 2 partial streets. Unless I missed something.
I'll talk about this is for Sticks and Balls Bike Night, which is not the original Bike Night Festival that was way back when, 10 years ago or so. So she's not planning on that big 10,000 bikes come in for this event. She's wanting to close down the 2 streets there we talked about, parking on both sides of the street, plus they'll plan to park in the parking lot and even over the Dollar General parking lot behind there too. So those areas are the only areas she's planning on having a few food trucks and music. That's it. So we've also talked to her this is gonna be a May through September event, 1 night a month. After the first one, make sure we're still good and see if we need to adjust anything.
I'm excited. It's gonna be great, a great event. So I'm not, you know, not saying
Yeah,
we
it's just not
shouldn't
planned-
have it. It's
It's
just,
not planned to be that big of a scale event as what we had before.
right, not planned to be, but people are pretty excited about
Right,
this.
and so like I say, well, if we need to adjust it, then we'll adjust.
So tonight, we're approving them all. And then you, staff will work to adjust things
Needed.
if needed. Okay. Very good.
Okay.
The chiefs are both on board. Very good. Thank you.
No other discussion? Jackie, you want to call roll?
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
All right, next would be item K, resolution approving an,
F2. There's 2 under F.
do I need to specify then item 1 and 2, or?
Yeah, we just voted on item 1, so now we need to
Okay.
do number 2.
Can I get a motion to approve, item F, number 2?
So moved.
Second.
So on this, lifting the alcohol license, is this only alcohol that's brought out of Sticks and Balls, or is this every establishment?
My understanding, it's Sticks and Balls within the parking lot area.
Close
Yeah, you can't
to-
be walking down in front of the west side of the square if you're coming from Sticks and Balls with a beer. No, it's the enclosed. It's the designated area. I guess it's not enclosed. The designated area. We'll be out there to remind if we need to be.
All right, Jackie, you gonna call the rolls?
Councilmember Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
All right, moving on to item K, resolution approving an option for plating outlot Z of Emerald Bay. I need a first and second motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I just wanted to talk through the movement and how it affects the parkland dedication.
Sure. You'll learn more about this on the 19th when the final plat for Emerald Bay Plat 2 is actually brought before you. But in the meantime, because of the lot reconfiguration of the interior lots, what was originally the east part of the parkland will now become commercialized for a potential client for the developer. As a result, the parkland area is now expanded to the north a little bit more, and then also to the west a little bit more. So we're giving up a little bit on the east to get more other areas to encompass the pond and the trail system. Outlot Z, it was platted as Outlot Z on Plat 1, and because it's been recorded and we own it, it can't be platted as Outlot Z again, so it's transferring to Outlot W for Plat 2, and so there's a corrected deed that's affiliated with it.
And in doing so, the area that's dedicated for parkland actually got bigger, correct? Yeah. And this conversation's for the interest of the public, more so. I watch P and Z and talk through this with you, but and also water retention, is it all being done on this parcel then?
Yeah, the
The
pond
whole
will be,
development?
the pond will be totally encompassed by the outlot, and then the storm sewer will take it through the other outlot, that's Outlot Y, I believe. Or Outlot Y, and then it'll go onto the creek there. Yeah, it's now encompassing within the outlet as a whole.
Where's Outlot W at, Bill?
So it's kind of what Outlot Z was.
Oh, okay.
And a future concern, but also as we're doing this, this becomes the property of the city and parkland. We need to be prepared budget-wise to absorb this and maintain it, which includes a park that's close to residential areas. We can't just let it go. And do we have plans to include playground equipment on this?
Right now, no. This is, Timothy and his group will be working on a shelter and a trail connection. That's what they're looking for right now. So no, we don't have any plans for playground equipment in our future budget for this.
We're talking about a residential area that has no connectivity.
Right.
Future topic. Something that we do need to discuss.
It'd probably be good to state too, based on some email exchanges, this refers to interior lots, so it is not going to impact the residents on Hillcrest on the north side.
No, this final plat does not impact those residential units.
Thank you.
Right. But whenever it comes up, the neighbors hear it's being talked about. And I just want to make sure they understand where it's at and what's going on with it.
That final plat will be presented to you on the 19th.
Thank you. I have gotten several calls, and so I just wanted to make sure that was clarified. Appreciate it.
Any more discussion? If not, Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Okay, next up, item M, resolution approving salaries. I need a motion, first and second motion.
So moved.
Okay.
I mean, Josh, I know why, but just the conflict.
Yep.
Any other discussion from anybody? Otherwise, Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Abstain.
Dalby?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to council reports. Are there any committee updates from anybody?
I will give an update on Hometown Pride. We will be making our final transfer of funds to the city for Wonder on Buxton. You might recall that the city made the payments for the Wonder on Buxton project, and some of the funds are sitting in our checking account. We will be transferring that over to the city once we have a quorum to make an approval on that, hopefully next week. And once that is done, then we will be moving to decommission that committee.
Okay.
You'll be seeing that on a future agenda.
Okay. Any other committee updates? I don't know if anybody saw any meetings. One of the things Mayor Richardson's asked is if we can let staff know when the meetings are held for each committee, so that we can have kind of the agenda more outlined of, you know, all right, we're gonna expect a landfill update, you know, roughly around here, so. Does he want that to go to you, Jackie,
Yeah,
or?
that'd be great.
Okay,
Yep.
so if we can email Jackie when our meetings are, that'd be great.
Thanks.
Next up is receive and file the March 2025 EMS billing activity report. I need a first and second motion.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay,
The numbers look about as normal?
all right, well, we'll just do it's a voice vote, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up is the Mayor Pro Tem report, from a community update. I'm just gonna ask council if we can provide some direction to staff on continuing negotiations with Kayakota, and if there's any information that council would like staff to gather from Kayakota or internally on other animal controls issues. So you know, that's still one of the things that's been out there, hasn't been fully addressed, so if there's direction that we'd like to give to staff on anything that we'd like to see or hear, now is the chance.
I did talk to Kayakota last week. I don't know if you want me to provide
Sure.
some information that they shared with me. They were asking for $216,000, and they know that with our budget constraints, that that's not gonna happen. And so my question to them was, what would you be willing to do? And they would be willing to stay at $54,000. And then my question then was, what does that mean? Is that gonna be the same level of service, or is that gonna be something different? What does it look like? They came back with, it would be only dogs, and it would be only during their hours of operation. So no overnight, you know, calling staff in for overtime. And no cats. They have a very hard time adopting out cats. They would consider taking cats that they think are adoptable very quickly, but it would be at their discretion. And they would continue providing our vicious dog service.
There's a place within the community, I think it's called Whiskers or Whiskers TRL, something that I think they
Do feral
do
cats.
feral cats, so that's something to think about there. So hadn't we already closed our budget? If we decided to give them 5,400, we'd have to do a budget amendment then.
Figure out where it's coming from.
Yeah, exactly. So you're asking for us to give staff direction?
Yeah, I mean, the direction could be that, you know, we don't want to pursue anything at this time. The direction could be to pursue the information that was asked for Chief Shearer on all of the costs associated with doing the tickets. I just think we kind of got to that point where it never got brought back up, and there's been some questions about what are we going to do in FY26 regarding Kayakota, so. Chief?
Mayor Pro Tem. Brian Scher, Chief of Police. At a previous meeting, I discussed about restitution, and I did have some conversations with the county attorney's office. And we believe it's gonna be very difficult to get restitution for Kayakota, and here's why. We're talking about simple misdemeanor charges, dogs running at large, things like that. When restitution is requested. I'll use criminal mischief, another simple misdemeanor charge as an example. If Josh throws a window through, or throws a rock through Melissa's window, sorry, make you the bad guy. Josh is our suspect, Melissa is our victim, right? There's a cost to that window, say it's $300. Well, restitution gets put onto the suspect through the victim, through the courts. With Kyakota, they're not a victim in any of this, so if the police call them, or anyone calls them to pick up a dog, that's a service provided, and it's impossible for us, if we write a ticket to someone, to get restitution when they're providing a service. They're not a victim in this. Society is the victim in dog running at large charges. Does that make sense, or did I confuse everyone? So
Makes sense.
that's where it becomes darn near impossible to get restitution for the private business who should be charging whatever fee they need to charge to the owner of the dog to pick up the dog.
So should they be filing like a small claims court?
I don't want to get into how they should run the business, but yeah, I don't.
There are options for them.
There are options, yes. There are options to charge and there are civil remedies to sue. But I by no means do I want to tell them how to run it. Any questions on my poor example?
No, that was helpful.
Sorry.
I have all confidence Josh would pay.
You have civil remedies.
Appreciate that. What are you doing? Chief reviews?
I was gonna add that on my ride-along, I did ask the officers that I had the opportunity to interact with what they thought about not having animal control, and none of them were in favor of it. And I interacted with 6 officers in the course of my night. None of them want to be transporting dogs. And I don't know if that's indicative of your whole staff, but the 6 that I interacted with
She's like,
were very adamant.
My pulpiteer, yeah. Yes, that's the prevailing, because like anything else, when we need them, we need them. We're not just calling because we found Fluffy along the side of the road and we're gonna take it for a walk back to the police barn. When we need them, we needed them this morning at 6:30 and they came out because of an arrest of a dog in a car. And so when we need them, we need them. That makes sense.
So now, so you're saying though, for the same amount of money, they will no longer be coming out at 6:30 in the morning?
That's a problem.
We would have to figure out some kind of temporary holding, potentially. Or negotiate a way to, maybe for us to put the dog in a kennel.
And I don't know how many are after hours, I can find that out, but we utilize their services 20 to 25 times a year is what our historic has been, the police department. So it's not a lot. I don't know if that's, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I can definitely dive deeper into that, but there are times we need them after hours, like this morning, for example.
I think that would be helpful. I mean, if it's 25 times a year, it's rough math, $2,000 a time for them to come out with what they're asking. Maybe we could get after-hours service for that type of benefit. I think one thing needs to probably re-looked at. I know Councilwoman Beach had a lot of questions about it. She's unfortunately not here tonight to ask some of that, but I think that's it. If we're gonna try to find $56,000, we're being told it's very limited in scope. It would be nice to know what scope we need and make sure that we're getting what we actually need as opposed to maybe what is wanted.
Yeah, I mean, just simple math, it might be just half those times that we need it.
Yeah.
12 out of.
Yeah.
I think it would be very useful direction for staff. That would be incredibly useful to understand, given the asks that are still persisting in the budget.
In that case, you're saying you only want them to pick dogs up if the PD calls them, rather than dogs at large in the community that could be a danger.
I think that we at least need to know that. You know, again, I think that goes back to some of the questions that Councilman Beach asked as well. We talked about their budgets and what are they charging people to get their pets back? They know dogs really, really well because they're the cheapest daycare in town.
And they did increase their fees.
So need to understand what's needed. We've asked everybody all around to be all about what's needed. I think it would be probably prudent to take the same approach for Kayakota.
So I'm feeling like maybe the starting point for direction is getting that on what we need, how many times PD's called, and like what the hour scope was. And then you can kind of come back to us to see exactly what those numbers look like and maybe what we can do going forward. Does that seem like a good starting point?
They started,
Okay.
They have a reporting system that tells them how many they've,
Yes.
sort of.
This one might
They
take a
share
little
with us
digging, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's,
You at least know how many dog calls you have.
Ish.
And you might have to look through those.
yes. Because a lot of times it's, I don't want to get into it, but we'll have to look for verbiage as opposed to like a number or something like that, yes.
I have faith in you.
I won't be doing it. I hope you have faith in the person that will. So 1 year, 2 years, how far of a historical perspective? One would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, one would be helpful. Obviously, anything that can establish a trend line would be great, but
Okay.
it's gonna depend on how easy it is for you to obtain that information, I suppose. Use your best judgment.
Find out tomorrow when I get screamed at, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. That is what I had.
I just have a question. Kayakota obviously needs to know for their future direction as well. How much time, Chief, do you think you need?
I'll know better tomorrow. For,
I'm just wondering
these
when we should
numbers?
bring it back.
oh, I can't imagine not getting it back. What do I have to be, the Thursday before? I'm gonna shoot for that.
For our next meeting?
meeting, yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
where do you envision this money coming from? I mean, you sat in on all the budget meetings and know how tight everything is. So, I mean, do you have an idea of where those funds would come from, other than pulling out of reserves?
No, I don't. Every department was tight and it'll be difficult. I know PD was the most over budget, so it'd be pretty hard to squeeze it into their budget. Difficult's probably the wrong word, impossible. I don't know.
That'll
Do
be-
you have any thoughts?
Reserves. Unless you want to cut more things, which will probably be people.
Is that where any budget savings go from prior year?
Good question. So we can
Well, just,
look at these.
I'm coming into the
savings.
budget part late, but it just seems to me, the one thing I've heard is some talk, the staff's done a great job, and I have no questions about that, but looking at savings yet for the remainder of this budget year, and that might be a possibility. We just don't know yet where things are gonna end. So that's why I asked the question.
And I have it tentatively scheduled for August to give a report on where we stood in, for
Okay.
FY '25.
Well, the next thing I have is the Employee Recognition Month proclamation. So, whereas the month of May includes Public Service Recognition Week, International Firefighters Day, National Police Week, and National EMS Week, and whereas the residents of Indianola are served every day by public workers, and whereas the public employees of the city of Indianola are committed to providing citizens with quality and ample services and strive to improve the livability of the community through personal dedication, integrity, accountability, innovation, sensitivity, public safety, education, and leisure programs, and administrative services. And whereas public servants are driven by a desire to give back to others, improve the quality of life of our residents, and help those in need. And whereas public employees serve citizens without wanting of recognition or reward, and serve in our times of need with courage, compassion, and loyalty. And whereas at moment's notice, firefighters are quick to respond to uncertain situations while risking their lives in order to protect our community. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas the members of the Indianola Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the residents and visitors of the city of Indianola. And whereas the dedicated and hardworking public employees of the city of Indianola deserve to be recognized, acknowledged, and supported for their efforts, selfless service, and sacrifices. Therefore, I, Mayor Pro Tem Steve Armstrong, do hereby proclaim May 4th as International Firefighters Day, May 4th through the 10th as Public Service Recognition Week, May 11th through the 17th as National Police Week, and May 18th through the 24th as National EMS Week in Indianola. And I encourage all citizens to show support and appreciation to our public servants who work tirelessly to provide services required and expected by the public. And with that, I felt that was a good segue to Chief Hurt. I believe you guys have a pancake breakfast coming up. So that is this Saturday. Can you remind me of the time? I want to say 8 to 11, but I don't want to be wrong.
It is, I think it's 7 to 11.
7 to 11. So
7 to 11.
pancake breakfast Saturday. Come out. Chief Hurt will cook them all.
You bet.
And is that the fire station?
You're at the fire station, yep.
Thanks for
You're welcome.
clarifying that.
Volunteers for that?
Actually, having some of the retired firefighters and then the Lions Club are gonna come in and serve.
Perfect.
All right, I will move into public consideration for old business. I have
Items.
did I?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I have a consideration of the appointment of Mike Bethke to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a term beginning immediately and ending on July 1st of 2027, filling a vacant unexpired term. I need a first and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think Mike is an excellent candidate for this position, and I thank him for stepping forward.
Agreed.
No other discussion? Jackie, you want to call a roll?
Councilmember Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Solms?
Public consideration and old business.
I really want to get out of here.
I'm really excited for the study session, what can I say? I have a first consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 160, section 307 of the Code Ordinances, Indianola, Iowa. Any first and second?
Second.
Council, Mayor Pro Tem, I brought this forward after some requests by the citizens, then looking at our ordinance, saying that it was kind of unenforceable, and it didn't really lend well to some of the social activities that people like to participate in and can do so safely. I think one of the issues that we deal with when we're talking about open burning, when the improper burning is done, it creates a safety issue for the community and for the families nearby, as was evidenced a couple of years ago, the major fire we had as a result of a fire that was left unattended, and the wind took some of the embers into the siding. I guess one of the major complaints that we get when illegal burning's done, which is burning the yard waste, is usually respiratory irritants to other citizens. When we follow the ordinance as it's detailed in the IFC 2018 as adopted by the city, burning can be done safely, will be done safely, and reduces very small amounts of respiratory irritants. We'd be given also very small smoke vapors that usually occurs with wet wood or yard debris when it's burned, or painted wood, green wood, things of that nature that give off some of the toxic smoke. So I believe that in doing this, we can create a good enforceable ordinance and that will also lend well to recreational activities for the citizens. I do have information that Councilwoman Sones had asked for. She had asked for the number of responses that we had to this. In 2024, we had 40 responses to illegal burning, and in 2025, year to date, we're at 31. Burning activity does pick up in the summer and fall, so I anticipate that number will be a little bit larger. Usually those calls result in just us asking the person to extinguish the fire. There's not been previously any pathway for enforcement. I did bring up with Chief Shear that going forward that our personnel will report out to the call, take care of the issue. The next morning, the fire marshal will address it and reach out to the PD to have a citation issued on our behalf. First offense is $250. Each additional offense after that is $500.
I'm looking forward to it, honestly, so. I'm one of those guys who like a campfire.
Other questions?
Any questions?
I'm just glad to see that
Thanks, Chief.
we're gonna have an enforceable ordinance. Thank you.
Jackie, you want to follow up?
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
All right, next up is new business. Item 1 is a first consideration of an ordinance repealing chapter 32 of the Code of Ordinances in Enola, Iowa. I need a first and second motion.
So moved.
Second.
And discussion.
This ordinance is just repealing chapter 32, the Indianola Wellness Campus Board of Trustees, and the Parks and Rec Commission will take over those duties. They're already authorized to do so under the current code.
Great.
And I already know the answer, but just so the public does is, the director of the IWC, is she on board with this as well? Thank you.
Planning to come to our commission next week.
Great.
No other discussion, Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Okay, next up is item 2. I have a first consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 55, Animal Protection and Control of the Code of Ordinances in Enola, Iowa regarding chickens. Need a first and second.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, so now that the chicken permits are up and active, and we've approved maybe a half dozen or so, we've kind of thought through things a little bit more, and we decided to bring a couple of proposals that P and Z is on board with, as well as our city staff. And that's to update when the the permit should be renewed. We think it should be renewed on the anniversary of the date of initial permit approval instead of the first of the year. Helps to keep it more in line. If, you get a permit in November and they have to renew it in January. It's kind of silly. So that's one proposal. And then the second one is, instead of having the permit number on the band, we're proposing to have the address on the band instead. Helps to maybe locate the owner without having to go through the city, especially on the weekends when the city's not available. The bands aren't very big, so it's kind of one of those things. And according to Tara, when people apply for those permits, they get a temporary permit number at the beginning, and then after the inspection, then they get a permanent number. But the band has to be on the chicken before the permanent number comes, so it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. So those are the two amendments we're proposing for urban chickens. Do you have any questions?
I like changing the renewal thing from a workload perspective too. It breaks it up. I mean, we have 6 now, so it's not a big deal. I don't anticipate us having a whole lot,
Probably not.
but it breaks it up, and like you said, if someone applies in November and then they're gonna get another one, a renewal in January, it's kind of crazy. Thank you for bringing this up.
Do we provide the bands?
No.
They have to get them themselves?
Yeah.
do they write their address on there, or is it like,
I don't know how
you
they
go to a special chicken engraving band place or something?
That's my thing. That's my thought, but I don't know that answer for sure. I don't know if anyone else might know.
I believe they can order them if they want, but they can order just blank ones and write on them. Depends how fancy they want to get.
You know, back, Pete Crow Armstrong's jersey, I mean, his name goes all the way, like a big arch, right? So on these bands, you have to write the address, they could, I don't know how you would do it.
And I don't think we care if they can do the permit or the address, but we think it's more logical to have.
Address makes a lot more sense, I think.
Yeah, if you live on a numbered street, it's really easy. If you live on Lancaster Way, it's
Yeah.
not as easy.
No one's gonna hold on to a chicken from Friday night at 6 PM until Monday morning at 8 PM to find out who the permit holder is via a permit holder. It's another thought that we had.
Good idea.
Anything else?
Sounds good.
Okay. Jackie?
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Reed?
Okay, item 3 under new business is a first consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 136 sidewalk regulations of Code of Ordinances in Enol, Iowa. Need a first and second
So moved.
and discussion.
Yeah, so this was brought to me by our code enforcement officer, Mike Visser. The city has, the sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner who abuts those sidewalks. And we're the ones who end up writing letters to fix those. So while the code says, specifically just calls out the city council, we're proposing to add code enforcement officer or another municipal officer or designees to basically order these sidewalk repairs to be done. It's nothing, because, community development does most of the legwork in getting these sidewalk repairs done, getting notice to those property owners. So we think that adding those code enforcement officer or the designee as part of this ordinance would be beneficial. Any questions?
All right, if no questions, Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Okay, item number 4, first consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 165 zoning regulations of the Code of Ordinances in Enol, Iowa. Need a first and second?
So there's several in here, and I can go through them all first and then ask questions, or I can go through each one individually and then. So this paragraph, it's just missing a couple of words to make it a complete sentence. One thing I was looking up one day, and the words are just missing to make it a complete thought, so just wanna add those words in there. The next one, updating it to more of a neutral phrase for non-conforming structures. This one is something I've seen in other communities. It helps to encourage additional landscaping, basically prohibiting more than 15 parking spaces in a row. Once I get to that 15, then a landscape island would be required. So helps to break up a little bit of concrete pavement by adding another tree or shrubs or landscaping. Something that we're proposing here. This one. Civil engineers are the ones who really sign off on all stormwater management plans, and having an architect or landscape architect, sorry, Monty. They're not the ones who typically sign those. So while he might work on the back end, it's Jason Len who's gonna sign those documents. So getting rid of architect and landscape architect from the ordinance that just have engineer license in the state of Iowa. And then here, this is something that Wade had worked on with the Emerald Bay development with the Quickstar. But we're proposing canopy regulations for gas stations. Basically, the big one here is canopies, the columns being wrapped in brick or stone. I think he got that looped into the DA for Quickstar. So it's something that we took to P&Z to see what their thoughts were. They didn't have any issues with any of these regulations. So I figured bring it to you guys to see if you had any questions on that. But it really just regulates height of canopies and clearance underneath them and the materials for the columns. that's the extent of the zoning regulations that we're proposing. Happy to take any questions.
Go back to the parking lot landscape islands. So you're saying every 15, it has to be broken up by a curbed landscape island. Do we have any type of standard set for that, or are you just working that out on a case-by-case basis?
Every landscape island has to have a tree in it, so we just,
You do have that
that's in the code already.
already? Okay.
So if they want 16 spaces in order, they can go 8 landscape island 8 or 10 landscape island 6 or however they want to.
Want to make sure we had it actually called out so it's clear.
Yep, there's, in the landscape ordinance, landscape islands do require trees.
That's where the LA comes in, right? You use the landscape architect for that.
Yep.
Do you know how many parking lots we have that this applies to?
I don't think very many. And frankly, I'm not sure how prevalent it'll be, but it's just something to consider. I don't think, maybe Walmart probably has some. Schools, yeah, parks, things like that. We can't go back and, correct those in the past, but moving
Unless they
forward-
do major updates, right?
But moving forward, especially with the new developments coming, it's something, and I think, Summercrest Hills, I don't know. The site plan for the athletic facility didn't apply to that, but, it's something to look at moving forward, and encouraging more green space landscaping and concrete.
I do like the wrapped poles on the gas stations. You see them, some of the older gas stations look pretty tough.
Every other gas station in town has steel or metal columns. Who knows when the next gas station is gonna come? It could be a couple of years, enough time for this ordinance to settle in and.
On P and Z, they were talking about the cost and it really wasn't that much to add this.
Jake Weiss was encouraging when he said it's easier to fix and maintain the brick and stone as opposed to the metal.
Any other discussion, questions? Jackie?
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Item 5 is a first consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 170 subdivision regulations of the Code of Ordinances, Indianola, Iowa. I need a first and a second.
I apologize for the small writing on this one. The preliminary plating procedures, the very last line of it, it says, at the request of the owner or the designee, the preliminary plat shall be forwarded to the commission for its review, regardless of the zoning administrator's determination that the preliminary plat is complete. It's the department's thought that we shouldn't be bringing things to the commission or the council that aren't ready to be seen yet, despite what the developer or engineers say. It hasn't been a problem here yet, but it's something that we would like to control that, bring it to you folks when it's ready to be seen and not before that. So the proposal is to strike that line, allow staff to determine when it's ready to be heard at a commission meeting. Since I've been here, it's typically after the second review or during the second review that we'll bring it, and at that point it's pretty much ready to go. So I'd rather not. I just want to be able to determine when it's ready to be heard and not run the risk of either commission or council denying the application because it's not ready.
Any questions?
Makes sense.
No questions. Jackie?
Councilmember Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Okay, next up, item 6A, for Simpson Athletics, I have a resolution approving final plat for Simpson Athletics Plat 1.
One more subject. Oh, so I didn't go through the other one. Oh, sorry. I thought it was one motion then.
Through now. It's already through now.
Yeah, we
For
did.
it.
I didn't talk about the second one.
Oh, yeah, no, you can go back and address it, they've already voted on it, if you wanna mention.
Do you want to know about it or
We had read about it.
trying to save the city some money? So it's basically in the grand scheme of development, rezonings and preliminary plats. Rezonings are first, preliminary plats, then construction drawings, and the final plats. Rezonings require neighboring notices and a sign to be placed on the property. Preliminary plats are not required by the state to send out send out mailings, but the city requires it. So it ends up kind of being redundant and it costs money to send those notices. So as a negotiation with planning commission, instead of completely striking noticing, we've decided to do signage the same way we do rezoning signs. So it'd be at the cost of the developer to place a sign for the rezoning and then also for the preliminary plat, and then the rest of it would be. So that's all that one's about. Thank you, sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, you're fine.
So there was some discussion about the mailings also. Nothing is changing with that, or
We won't mail,
you won't mail at all?
not for preliminary plats. We still have to do it for rezonings, that's a state requirement. But it's not a state requirement to mail them for preliminary plats.
You only do one mailing, right?
One for the rezoning, one for the preliminary plat. So the same property owners are getting the same notice for two different things. So city staff is preparing and mailing notices to the same people twice. So it's more of a kind of a redundancy aspect to it.
And you're gonna keep doing that?
No. For the rezonings, yes. Preliminary plats, no.
Okay.
The developer will install a sign on the property similar to what they do for rezonings instead of us mailing the neighbors.
I was thinking that you changed the number of mailings to one. People need to pay attention to the signs.
I don't want paint.
I'm gonna notice a sign more than a postcard or a mailing. Mail anymore. Yeah. Thank you.
So 6A is resolution approving final plat for Simpson Athletics Plat 1. Need a first and second.
So moved.
Second.
I'll talk about these next two items together as the same project. The owner and applicant in this case is Simpson College, represented by tonight Monty Applegate with Snyder and Associates. And they're requesting approval of our final plat and a site plan for an athletic facility at their practice fields on West Iowa Avenue. We've addressed it as 805 West Iowa. The entire property contains just under 19 acres in area. It's zoned R2, which is the 1 and 2 family residential or single family attached residential. So this will be a non-residential use on a residential property, which is permitted, just has some different requirements. So the project area is about 3 acres in area. They've kind of, instead of final platting this area as its own area, we've kind of sectioned it off for a developable area in terms of, for what's required for landscaping. The building will be about 80 by 126, 10,130 square feet in area, about 29 feet high. The final plat. The final plat identifies this one lot, and then if you'll notice, the lot on Iowa and then 2 lots on East Street, those lots extend into the city right away. So those lots will be deeded over to the city to complete what should be our right of way as one lot. So there'll be a couple of warranty deeds for those street lots. Access to the site will be off of Iowa Avenue from that driveway there at the top of the hill. 58 parking spaces are required. We're using 1 space per 4 seats at maximum capacity. The applicant is providing those 58 spaces, including 3 accessible spaces. The sidewalk exists on the south side of Iowa Avenue, and they'll install small portions of 5-foot sidewalk there adjacent to the driveway. They're also installing a 5-foot pedestrian walkway from the public sidewalk up into the site for pedestrian access. Utilities already exist, but the basin will be on the west side of the parking lot, and that storm sewer infrastructure will take it through that pond and then down to the creek there to the west. 20% of their project area is required to be open space. They're providing 69.34. We use the entire site for that calculation, but then
2.96 acres, I think, was the developable area that we used for the landscaping calculations for trees and shrubs and things of that nature. So everything is compliant with our site plan ordinance. Elevations similar to what's proposed there, predominantly of Class 2 architectural metal wall panel systems with conceal fasteners in gray and cool granite colors, and then Class 1 aluminum frame storefront system with glazing. So these elevations show compliance with our site plan ordinance. With that, the final plat and the site plan are in general conformance with our site plan ordinance, zoning ordinance, and subdivision ordinance. So we do recommend approval for Simpson Athletics Plat 1, final plat and site plan, subject to remaining staff comments. Happy to take any questions. Also, Monty is here as well from Snyder. Where it dumps out on Iowa, is it dumping out right at the crest of that little hill?
I can answer that if you'd like. Yes, it is. Yeah, it'll be at the flat spot, at the high spot for visibility.
Yeah, okay, that's the only question that I had. I know it's pretty steep and you can't see much traffic coming out, if you were heading west coming up the hill, so. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. I was trying to figure out the same thing. 'Cause that street's a little busy sometimes.
So is there gonna be a sidewalk that goes all the way then up to, was that First Street? Yeah, so that pedestrian walkway to the west of the driveway, that's the pedestrian access from Iowa up into the site.
You're talking about
That'll be
on Iowa.
ADA compliant as well. It'll be a ramping system.
You're talking about the stuff in Iowa?
Yeah.
Where does it connect in Iowa? Is there a sidewalk the whole way along Iowa now?
Yep.
So it's just redoing.
connected to the existing
okay,
public
it's
way.
Redoing the
Alright.
existing connection.
Good, I think it'll be a nice welcome addition. I think there's a sidewalk that connects on the south side too, that goes around to the baseball field as well, so they could park there if they need additional parking. The site as a whole.
I have a question about the height. How does the height of this building compare to the height of the homes on the other side?
What do we say, it's, go ahead.
I can answer that. It came up in P and Z as well.
Okay,
So from
sorry, I messed up.
the sidewalk along Iowa, the existing sidewalk to the top of the current hill is 14 feet. And then the building will be 29 feet above that, so 40-ish feet total from the pavement of Iowa up to the top of the building. So
And how does that compare to the homes on the other side?
it's pretty close. I mean, the houses over to the north side are pretty flush with Iowa. So it'll be quite a bit higher than the houses. And then we do have landscaping as well, which we put on, kind of on the frontage to try to soften that from the view of the neighbors. Hopefully that helps.
Eventually.
Yes,
That'll
put some
go
miracle grow on that, hopefully, so, yes, but we'll hopefully have tasteful landscaping done, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The building's nice looking.
Thank you, yeah.
Any other questions, comments? If not, Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Wade? Dalby?
Aye.
Item B, resolution approving site plan for Simpson Athletics Training Competition Facility. Need a first and second.
So moved.
Yep.
I know Bill kind of already covered everything, but any discussion on this one? Not?
I think it's exciting for Simpson College and their athletes.
Okay, Jackie?
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Wade?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
And other business, interim city manager's report? Doug?
Yes, it's May, right, so spring. It's very busy, there's a lot of news, and some of it's already been shared tonight. The pancake breakfast is coming up Saturday, as you said.
Sorry.
It's okay. I don't mind if people steal my thunder. A couple other things, I just wanna congratulate Councilmember Sones for completing Morgantown Leadership Institute. So that was finishing up here super recently. I presented to the Divine Partnership Business Supplier Development event on Thursday. Kind of give some small businesses some opportunities on how they can collaborate with the city to provide services. Hopefully provide some connections that way. That was good. It was a good event. Main Street has been here working on their branding, and they'll be having some meetings here tomorrow to keep on going with their Main Street process. This week, we're gonna work with the High School Transition Alliance, the city clerk's office, HR department, and Parks and Recreation to do some opportunities for youth in high school. What we do, so gonna share some of our knowledge there. We wanna thank or congratulate again, for Warren County Philanthropic Grants. The fire department got a fitness equipment grant. Police department got a grant for expansion of their drone program. That's been really successful. And then the Parks and Recreation Department got a grant for Angel Devices to help our lifeguards, training. Public Works AP is working on a SERPTA grant for safety improvements on Highway 92 and Highway 65, 69. We'll apply for that. It'll be very competitive, but again, safety is important along that highway. We do want to talk about that May 19th, we'll start the closure on Clinton Avenue, that block between Buxton Street and Howard Street. All that information will be coming out, but that block in one of those intersections will be closed for about 60 days, about 3 months or so. We also, tomorrow, hopefully we'll find out with marketing and Aaron and the chamber worked on a Nova, hopefully we'll get a Nova award. They're one of the top 3 in the state already, but hopefully they'll win that. It was for the Ragbrag Just Eat It campaign, so that was pretty exciting. So proud of them on those too. So, and then finally, we are working with Jacob as Jacob transitions to be here in, what day is it now, 23 days or so. Working with him to set up meetings with department heads, so that first week when he comes, to start getting him transitioned into moving things forward. So I'm excited about that too.
Awesome.
I should say, as a Park and Rec person, right? We just started filling the pool today, so knock on wood, things will go good there. And I think we'll have some good news coming up with some sponsorships for IWC. Hopefully next meeting we'll have a kind of a naming rights for the whole building contract coming up. So that's really encouraging. So
Exciting. I have a question about, Chief, since you're here, the drones that you were awarded, or the money that you're purchasing the drones, they're different than the ones you have today, correct?
Yes.
I read that these are drones that can fly internal.
Yes, their internal drones are smaller, the propellers are guarded, so in case we do run into something, it doesn't break anything, it just bounces off and keeps going. We've already integrated them. We had some use, now we're gonna have our own, but we got to use them before we bought them with the special response team. So instead of sending bodies into a dangerous situation, we can send the drones in, clear the room, and the bodies follow. And they've been doing that for, I think, 3 months now of training, and we were kind of speculative about it, but it works slick. It really does.
Yeah, that's nice.
It is.
I mean, dangerous situation, you're not sending a person in.
The drone gets hurt, oh well.
So how do you prevent someone from knocking the drone down?
You don't, but if they knock it down, we know someone's in there.
Gotcha.
I just gave away my secrets. No, we're excited about it.
Gives you a look at what's in there anyway, without sending someone in.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Well, I will take a motion to adjourn first and second.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. I will take 5 back to the study session.
Something's not right here, right?
All right, we will start the study session for discussion and direction on regarding a truck route ordinance for the city of Indianola. So AP?
Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members, Akhilesh Pal, Public Works Director. The study session is primarily to seek direction from City Council for staff to proceed with the project. We have historically received complaints about roadways that receive higher truck traffic volume. So as a part of this study, we'll be proceeding with investigation on what truck route options do we select, and we will be also be conducting public outreach, primarily to business owners and stakeholders that have more impact with these truck route options. So we will conduct surveys, and then once we finish the survey, depending on the results, we'll coordinate with the Iowa DOT if needed, and then see what kind of funding needs are there for signage or any other needs that we may have as part of this plan. So primarily, we are seeking council direction just to have a preliminary plan. I just created this plan, which is subject to change. We have a thing. Sorry.
If this will work, otherwise you don't hit your arrow button.
Working, so not working. So thank you, sir. So primarily, the red lines are the roadways where we receive most complaints from, and you can see the locations. Primarily, we get complaints. Some of them are residential streets like 9th Street, where the trucks use Iowa Avenue to commute towards the north end of or the south of Hillcrest Avenue. They commute 9th Street through some residential locations. We also receive complaints on 15th Street, traveling north-south towards the industrial complex on 14th Street, and then also on the south side where you can say Clinton, Boston, and Ashland is to that concrete Norwalk concrete plant to that Norwalk ready mix plant. So that is where we receive most of our complaints. The red lines show that, and the hot spots are the orange area that's primarily generating the truck traffic to those hotspot areas. And the yellow line is where the existing Iowa DOT has allowed truck routes. So they are by DOT standards. They are the standard truck routes in Indianola. And then blue lines are the ones that we are currently going to propose that is subject to revision. And then that's primarily that's shown in the map. Now, once we finish our study, we'll come back to you with a similar map that we will propose to you. That's all I have today. Just seeking direction from council to proceed with this project.
Is this an internal project, meaning you're not gonna have an outside consultant?
Correct.
Okay.
It'll be,
I guess the one thing at CAP, so where that ready mix is, you don't have any blue lines, but how would we get, those gravel trucks and cement trucks and everything back to that plant?
sure. I kind of expected this question, so I'm hoping that the Norwalk ready mix moves out and moves to the east part of town, which is, they have property there. I'm hoping that they will move out. If not, there's not a good plan there because it's all residential street. And if they are going to use that, if we create this as a truck route, there's no priority. Each and every street has residential traffic that goes on all the 3 locations. I don't think we can prioritize one road and say that this is going to be a truck route because that street will receive complaints from property owners on that location. So currently, all the 3 roads serve as a truck route to that destination, but primarily they know where to go depending on which, like, if we know that they are going north end on the north side of town, then they are possibly taking Clinton Avenue. And if they're going to the south, they either take Boston or Ashland sometimes to head to the south, but I currently don't have a good action plan for that. Chief Sure, I don't know if you have any alternates. We talked about internally, and we don't have a good action plan on that location, so.
Do we know what their business plan is do they have plans of moving?
I don't, I'm looking at Bill, Bill is gone, but I don't have any information on when they will be moving. So I know either they have bought property or they were initially having plans to move to North 17th Street, which is on the east side of Hillcrest Avenue.
Yeah, they've been in their current location a long time, so I didn't know if anyone knew what their plan was.
I don't, Doug, you know anything about it?
JP, if you're coming in from the, the east on Second Avenue, and you've got to do a delivery or pickup on 14th, are you suggesting they'll go up all the way to Jefferson and up and hook back?
So that is the current plan, and I expect some, I know that that will be resisted, but you know that we receive complaints from this residential properties. We always can make this as a truck route, but we and the council will be receiving complaints from residents if that is dedicated as a truck route, you know, so. With that being said, I mean, this is just a plan and concept now.
Sure.
If you have feedback, just contact me. We can certainly look into options of making that as a truck route. We have discussed internally that that's going to be challenging too. If we don't dedicate that as a truck route, there's going to be complaints from both the residents as well as the business owners, because that is the most direct route if you're coming from Second Avenue. So it's going to be challenging for us to maintain that.
Councilmember Lane, we see the exact thing you see. Obviously, we don't have the personnel to sit there. It will be complaint-based, and we would be lucky to catch one out of 300, 200, whatever that number looks like. And the trucking company is probably money ahead to pay that one fine and save all that money on the fuel to go all the way around. It's not a good situation because of the residential area.
Sure.
There, but they're gonna cut through there. I didn't steal your thunder, did I?
No, you didn't.
Yeah. It's-
Yeah, I say go ahead and proceed.
Yeah.
At least with the defined truck route, truckers who plug it in a GPS, it's gonna route them there.
Yes.
Those who just automatically drive a route are still gonna probably take the shortcut. The problem we have on 9th Street is we have a lot of kids walking and trucks mixed in with kids walking, especially without a sidewalk for part of that.
Yeah.
It makes it real dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, so 9th Street, the blue line shown on Hillcrest is a direct route to accessing them. They don't have to use Iowa Avenue to get to that location. So that, I think they can easily be directed towards Hillcrest Avenue. But I think the biggest challenge will be on 15th Street and Clinton, Boston, and Ashland. We are not addressing the questions. It's challenging. We have concerns on both ends from business owners as well as from residents about the truck route.
It definitely helps that Hillcrest is back open. Now it's just getting the trucks to go back to following that, so. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, AP.
All right, well, that is all we had for our study session, so thanks everybody for your time.